Trump's economy is in terrible shape and the American people are pissed. A new poll from Marquette out this weekend says that 66% of Americans disapprove of the tariff war that he started. And the reason is very obvious. People were already struggling. They elected Donald Trump because he promised to make everything less expensive. Now everything's more expensive. It's harder to put food on the table, harder to buy a house, harder to retire with dignity. Meanwhile, Donald Trump's throwing himself a $90 million military parade on his birthday, and he's accepting a $400 million bribe from the Qatari government. It's a government that works for everybody except you, and people are waking up to that fact every single day, and they are pissed.
And so, Donald Trump again has put these stupid tariffs, these taxes on food that we can't even grow in the United States, like coffee, right? 99% of the coffee that we drink comes from other countries. He's put tariffs of anywhere between 10 and 50% on coffee. And, the other thing that's happening is, in addition to raising the cost of groceries, farmers in the United States are getting crushed because countries are putting retaliatory tariffs on us. So, for example, soybean farmers who usually sell a lot of American soybeans to China now aren't able to do that anymore. And so it's thrown the entire system into chaos. Now, their answer is, well, we'll take some of the tariff revenue and we'll use it to make some of the farmers whole. It's like, okay, first of all, that does nothing to help the consumer. That does nothing to help lower prices at the grocery store, number one. Number two, okay, you bail out the soybean farmers, but you're going to have a whole bunch of other farmers saying, what about us? Right. And then you bail them out, and then you're going to have, people who own, independent grocery stores saying, what about us? And they cannot put this cat back in the bag, right? The only way to fix this is to get rid of the dumb tariffs on food, right?
Is Christmas canceled? Overnight, Dollar Tree, Walmart, Target, etc., they raised their prices. They spent hourly wages to get prices ripped off all the items that were pre-priced and then just put new prices. And some of these increase are $5 to $10, almost 100% increase. If you're paying attention, the normies, they're going to say tariffs is Trump's fault. But if you're really paying attention and you sit in on Walmart's earnings call, Target's earning call, they told us they were going to do this. They said, yeah, it's not hitting everything, but we're going to raise everything because why not? Profit over people. They simply don't care. The only way everything comes down is you vote with your dollars. Don't buy their shit. Sorry, it's ugly the way it sounds, I know, but it's the only way you get things to come back down. It seems like 4 to 6 weeks ago they were complaining that nobody's buying anything, so they're going to drop prices. And now what they strategically did is they said on the most popular items, we're just going to double down and go 100% more on price. It was strategic. It was for profit. It was done on purpose.
In case y'all were wondering if tariffs are having a real world effect, I have a story for y'all. So my husband and I, we have a friend in Poland and he wanted these headphones and like a little gift for his daughter. And it's cheaper, obviously, to buy some things in America. So he was like, well, I'll just buy it and then get it shipped to your house and then you can ship it to me. And he thought it would just be, like a flat rate to ship it from the United States to Poland. Well, I just got back from FedEx and DHL. Do you want to guess what I was quoted to ship this box? It's two things. FedEx quoted me $214. Express delivery would have been over $300. So I was like, thank you. I'm going to go check out DHL. DHL quoted me $241 to ship this box to Poland. I was able to chat with both of the workers about what's been going on with people trying to ship things during this era of tariffs. They said it's been really chaotic. People are shocked at how expensive it is to ship things. People are getting surprised with fees. So what most likely is going to happen now is we're just going to help him return these products that were bought because it defeats the purpose of him trying to get something cheaper sent to him in Poland. He might as well just buy it where he is in Europe and pay extra, rather than have to pay this huge tax. So thank you to the dumbass Americans who voted for Donald Trump. Y'all got, okay?
Trump's tariffs will cause inflation and it'll ruin the American economy. I've heard so many people say this, and the funny part about it is maybe 5% of people actually understand how the tariffs would work, how no income tax would work. But good for us, we have a president we can look back on that actually did this. This actually existed in U.S. history. No one can deny this. It is real. Grover Cleveland in the late 1800s, he served 2 terms as president, and he did not have any income tax, and he used tariffs to fund the government. The funny thing about this guy being president is it's one of the only times in American history when the government, not only did they not have debt, but they had a surplus of money. So the government was not taxing its people. It was using tariffs to fund the government, and they had a surplus. Right now, we have $35 trillion in debt. If we were a normal company, we would have went bankrupt a long time ago. Inflation, you ask? Well, inflation has been running rampant the past couple of years, but inflation then, it ticked up above 0% a couple times during his presidency, but during his 2 terms, he averaged -1 to -2% inflation. You can't deny what happened. What Trump's talking about is not something crazy. It's actually worked, and it was one of the last times the American people were not sitting here in debt, being charged their hard-earned money to fund the government.
Donald Trump and his administration would love for you to believe the U.S. economy is doing better. However, according to the report I just received, it shows that because of the tariffs and the trade policies, contracts and jobs are being lost or canceled across America. Let's talk about it. Not only did Trump's policies cost Georgia a major manufacturing facility, his tariffs just cost Michigan a $50 million factory deal, which would have brought 300 manufacturing jobs to the city of Detroit. According to Crane's Detroit Business, Lucerne International Incorporated was bringing a new aluminum forging plant to the city of Detroit. And according to Luceren's CEO, Mary Buxinger, everything is converging all at once. Tariffs are hurting raw material costs. Programs are being delayed or canceled. Margins are being squeezed. Luceren's canceled contract is just one of a string of investments across America that have fizzled out under Donald Trump's and this administration's tariffs and related trade policies. So you tell me in the comments, is the economy getting better or worse? Like, share, and follow me for more controversial topics.
American farmers used to sell their grain to other countries. Now, thanks to President Trump's trade war, their markets have dried up. Farmers are losing money, and the president is promising a bailout. All well and good because we need our farmers, but farmers are not the only ones being hurt by tariffs. Oil companies are laying people off. They've stopped drilling because of tariffs on steel. Groceries are more expensive. The cost of cars and trucks are rising. Everyday things we buy at Walmart, Home Depot, even the price of coffee costs more today than it did 6 months ago. Do these people all get a bailout too? Here's my thought. Let's just get rid of the damn tariffs.
Why in this chart did it go down so much today? This is the S&P. This is your money, our economy. Why is it going down? You're losing money. Well, it's pretty simple. We're losing manufacturing jobs. That's a lot of manufacturing jobs to lose, and we're not even done with the year. But even worse, we had jobs openings. 2009, 2008 was the Great Recession. This is as bad as it's been since 2009. And you know what's causing this? Trump's tariffs. It's that simple. People aren't building here. People aren't investing here. And if they are, it's not for the people because there's no jobs. So while inflation ticks higher, jobs are ticking lower, which means you're paying more and more people are going to be unemployed.
The story around Trump's tariffs has changed in a subtle but critical way. It's what's driving headlines like this and this To understand why, you only have to look at BYD. If you're asking, what is BYD? That's the point. BYD is the third largest automaker in the world and the world's largest EV maker, and they are innovating fast. The biggest issue with EVs in the United States has always been range and charge time. They fixed that. BYD has a vehicle that will charge in 5 minutes, a 250-mile radius in 5 minutes. They also have a 1,200 horsepower hypercar and SUVs that rival anything we make here. Now, everything they make is either full EV or hybrid. They stopped making an internal combustion engine only vehicle 3 years ago, and this is why they passed Tesla as the largest EV automaker in the world, and why they're on track to be the largest automaker in the world in 5 years. But we don't have access to those vehicles because Trump's tariffs make them so expensive to import, no one does. But isolating yourself with tariffs in this global economy is not how you win. Competing is how you win, and that's how BYD got to where they are, because the Chinese government made a massive investment in BYD through mining, manufacturing, and the infrastructure required to support an electric vehicle economy. But now, critically, BYD is exporting more vehicles to the rest of the world than ever, because Trump's tariffs on everyone else gave them an incentive to look elsewhere for vehicles. Honestly, it makes sense. They're already whipping our asses in social media and AI and green energy production. Why not come after the auto industry that employs 10 million Americans? The worst of all of this is Trump's response is to rebuild the economy of the 1950s, which is really honestly right now no different from going back and getting Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen, and Dennis Rodman and trying to rebuild the Bulls of the 90s, thinking that by doing something the same way you did 40 years ago, you're going to win another title. All of the things Trump doesn't understand, his inability to understand whatever made America great is by far the most destructive. There's nothing inherently great about being American. What made us great was our ability to innovate, compete, and invest. We could still do that, but the window to compete is shrinking rapidly. Right now, China does still get 60% of their electricity from coal, so ultimately all of those electric vehicles are still being powered with dirty old energy. But that will not last, because on the whole, China is still producing more batteries than anyone else in the world, and they are now producing more renewable energy than anyone else in the world, leaving us maybe 5-6 years to make a massive investment in new energy, or abandoning the trade war if we want to compete, just in case you needed more pressure on the 2026-2028 elections.
My town in Georgia is suffering because of Trump's tariffs. And I see now that the entire plan of Project 2025 and these tariffs and everything was to bankrupt all small businesses. That is their plan. And it makes sense because what they want is for all their billionaire friends to make as much money as possible. And for that to happen, we need to shop at Kroger. We need to shop at Publix. We need to shop at Walmart. We do not need to be going to the local farmer's market, the local co-op store, both of which in my town are right now in danger of going out of business. They've both been posting Instagrams and stories online saying, please come shop. Here's where you can donate. Like, we don't want to go out of business. We're just trying to get good local food to the residents. But of course, no one is shopping right now because we're all holding on to our money because Trump has put us all into a recession. And all of the local food is going to go out of business. Is this happening in your town too?
Are you a dummy? Of course not. But let's pretend you are. And let's say you're an American and you love Canadian maple syrup. And let's say that bottle costs you $10 until the government slaps on a 25% tariff. Now that same bottle costs you $12.50. But guess what? That money doesn't go to the Canadian maple syrup farmer. That extra $2.50 that you paid, your government keeps it. Because tariffs are actually a tax. But don't worry, your government's likely gonna put that money towards something good. Like social services for veterans, healthcare, education. So why do some countries have steep tariffs on American products like milk, butter, and rice? Those tariffs actually just make things more fair because the US has massive factory farms that would be able to flood foreign markets with much cheaper goods and put local producers out of business. But most countries actually use a tariff rate quota system, also called a TRQ system, so that those high tariffs only come into effect if more than a certain amount is imported. So if you were to, for instance, go grocery shopping in Canada, you would see that most American products are still cheaper than a lot of Canadian products. Oh, and don't forget that most businesses rely on being able to export their products to other countries. But then, for instance, when America starts this senseless trade war, other countries start to boycott American products because they kind of get offended. Kind of like how Canada, Greenland, Denmark, and a whole slew of other European countries are starting to boycott American products, or have been already. Because don't forget, tariffs are a fuck over your own people tax that at this rate will collapse the US economy. Don't forget to hit follow.
Our farmers have grain, soybeans rotting in the fields right now, where he's having to take money that they stole from us. They stole it from us with tariffs to pay those farmers whose markets he destroyed with the government. So look, I am a common sense Democrat, and apparently it means that I'm going to have to be really, really loud because there's not a lot of folks saying these very simple things. We have to grow our economy. We cannot live in this world alone without alliances, without trade partners. We have to work together.
We too often talk about trade while using the vocabulary of war. In war, for one side to win, the other must lose. But commerce is not warfare. Trade is an economic alliance that benefits both countries. There are no losers, only winners, and trade helps strengthen the free world. Yet today, protectionism is being used by some American politicians as a cheap form of nationalism, a fig leaf for those unwilling to maintain America's military strength and who lack the resolve to stand up to real enemies, countries that would use violence against us or our allies. Our peaceful trading partners are not our enemies. They are our allies. We should beware of the demagogues who are ready to declare a trade war against our friends, weakening our economy, our national security, and the entire free world, all while cynically waving the American flag.